Welcome everybody to a brand new campaign for the European Le Mans Series. It's season 2021, and in the much more traditional time of year, i.e. April, we can bring to you the first round of the 2021 European Le Mans Series. Delighted that you could join us, myself, Johnny Palmer, and we'll speak in a moment to Graham Goodwin, the editor of dailysportscar.com, who will be keeping me company throughout the course of the year. A reminder of where we're scheduled to go through this calendar then. We're kicking off in Barcelona. Brilliant to be back in Spain. Weren't able to be here in 2020 after a late rearrangement. Then in a month's time we head to Austria for the 4 hours of the Red Bull Ring. Then off to Le Castellet, which is the the round next, which is Monza, which is the one immediately before Le Mans, because Le Mans, of course, was changed from its June date to now be in August, and that has meant a slight rearrangement for Le Castellet to the early part of June, early part of July for the trip to northern Italy and to Monza, just up the road from Milan. Spa-Francorchamps, then the other side of Le Mans, and we end the campaign at the Algarve International Circuit in the south of Portugal. Most of the ELMS teams, of course, will be hoping that they can get cracking with the 24 hours of Le Mans in its new August date, and then hopefully going forward into 2022 we'll be back to as close to the longest day as possible for the d'Endurance, the most famous motor race in the world, the 24 hours of Le Mans. But a lot of the cars that you will see in that race this year are also on the grid here for the 4 hours of Barcelona to kick off the year. A reminder of where we are as well, the 4.6 kilometre Circuit de Catalunya, built in 1991, Grade 1 circuit, and still the home of the Spanish Grand Prix. Very much a test centre as well for many different categories. And whereas when we were last here in 2019, it was a Saturday night affair because that was in the heat of summer, the fact that we're here in April means that it's the more traditional 11 o'clock start tomorrow through till 3 o'clock. And we talked earlier on, Graham Goodwin, about there being lots and lots of new in the Michelin Le Mans Cup. The same very much can be said in the ELMS. A huge amount.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world and joining us. Massive amounts, massive proportion of new in the European Le Mans Series, and there's been plenty of track time so far this week. The pre-season tests, Monday and Tuesday, for the European Le Mans Series runners. Hundreds and hundreds of laps run in new drivers, new cars, new teams, new tyres, you name it. There is so much to talk about. There's one of the new look cars, be immediately recognisable to anybody that follows international sports car racing, the number 77 car. No, that is not the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship Porsche here for a day out. That is the 2021 livery for our defending champions. Snowy tops of the mountains, and it feels it as well, Johnny Palmer.
Yes, it does, because earlier on for the Michelin Le Mans Cup session, we were only hitting 11 degrees Celsius for ambient temperature, double that on the track surface, but you don't necessarily associate those cooler temperatures with this part of Europe. Also quite a bit of rain last night, yesterday evening. The rain poured down, which will have made the track very green this morning for anybody tackling, for instance, the Ligier European Series, which has full live streaming for the first time in 2021, and only the second year of that particular initiative. JMW Motorsport are back in their familiar colours, Graham.
They are, but with a tweak. Just trying to work out if that's Italian or Mexican colours on the side of the car. But I think now the longest standing team in the European Le Mans Series, been here for a long time, and oddly enough we're just talking about that 77 car. Jimmy Bruni, of course, one of their drivers in the early years and successful years for the team. You look as well to the 55 Spirit of Race car, the Invasion Stripes as it was described to me by the team, and they're looking not to be hit as many times this season with a bit of visual changes there. Tyre change going on for the number 93 Porsche. New driver for the number 55 with David Perel replacing Aaron Scott. And Aaron, we wish you well. Aaron concentrating on his historic race restoration and preparation business and stepping away from full-time pro racing. What a great servant he's been to that team.
Oh, certainly, because instantly saw the 55 car on an entry list. It had to be Duncan, Matt and Aaron all together.
It was the law.
Yeah, I don't think you could officially start a European Le Mans Series without having that trio in the 55 Ferrari. Well, 1/3 of it has changed. David Perel, who really made his presence felt for the Kessel Racing squad last year in the European Le Mans Series, moves across, and I'll remind you of that just crazy finish to the GTE AM category we had. Two teams finishing on exactly the same points, 99. and it had to go to countback, but something like, was it who had the first 4th place in the season compared between the Proton competition squad and Kessel Racing. And unfortunately, the 74 Kessel squad just missed out. We welcome back the 77. That is the one liveried in the WeatherTech colours for 2021.
So we've got 8 cars in the order. 9th will be back with us for the Red Bull Ring for round 2, but just running through here the drivers as the cars go out here as a mark of the quality of the professional drivers we've got here. Matt Griffin is in the number 55 Spirit of Race car, Paolo Roberti in the Iron Lynx number 60, Jody Fannin starts in the 66 J&W car for qualifying, Jimmy Bruni is aboard the 77 Proton, it is Miguel Molina, Ferrari factory driver, in the number 80 Iron Lynx, Rahel Fry in the 83, the Iron Dames 83 Iron Lynx car. Proton competition started by another factory driver, Richard Leitz, in the number 93 car, and the number 95 Aston Martin. Welcome back to them on board with the Aston Martin. That is Ross Gunn, another factory driver.
Yeah, and there was a slight concern from me, at least, for Ross Gunn, because the factory initiative from Aston Martin as far as their WEC campaign has come to an end now, but there is still this window of opportunity for factory drivers at Aston to be employed effectively as a customer factory driver in respect of TF Sport. So a number of favourites from the Aston crew still very much present on motorsport grids around Europe and a little further flung than that as well. All smiles down at the Proton crew with Michael Fassbender raring himself for a 2nd season. The Hollywood superstar, which has always, I think, maintained that he wanted to be a racing driver first and a film star second, and following the footsteps of Patrick Dempsey, of course, who has a long connection with Proton competition. And you could plot the progress of Michael Fassbender's season last year in terms of the learning, in terms of the experience, in terms of the improvement, and he'll be looking to build on that from the first round.
He's been showing some pace in testing this week. His role, he knows full well, is about consistency. More than anything, though, error-free. That is the key to getting the best out of the package that he's got in terms of talent and that he's got underneath him in terms of the car with this very well-honed Proton competition team.
But I was making the point to a few other people actually early in the weekend that a lot of the incidents that his car was involved in last year, not actually of his own making. He freely admitted he'd made a mistake in qualifying at Ricard last year, but otherwise it was just wrong place, wrong time. And a lot of endurance racing in terms of the success is reliant on a bit of luck here and there as well. Matt Griffin then, who's been installed into the 55 car, labelled as the top of the screen purely on numerical order. We'll get times through in a moment or two for the Irishman who pilots a change of livery, sort of. It's still got plenty of green on that Spirit of Race Ferrari, with about 50% of it is white now as well. Paolo Roberti, whose teammate was succeeding very nicely in qualifying for the Michelin Le Mans Cup. Rino Mastronardi will be looking out for Paolo Roberti in this qualifying session in the 60 Iron Lynx car. Jody Fannin, who did 1 round of the ELMS last year, the opener for JMW Motorsport. By the looks of things, that is a full season deal now for Jody, the Brit. And Miguel Molina goes to the top with an early bar setting 142.0 for the number 80 Ferrari.
In fact, of the 8 teams we have here on track at the moment in the GT class, I'm tracking, I think, 2. They're coming back as returning teams with the same drivers, the same car as last season. But even that, actually the 93 car, it is the new Porsche. This is the new current factory spec Porsche, now eligible with the new rear exiting exhaust, slightly quieter than the ear-splitting original RSR. The only other team that is unchanged, and we've got a new livery on the car, is the number 83 car, and it's been a storied process into the 2021 season for the Iron Lynx 83, the all-female crewed car. At no point up until about a week ago were we expecting it to be the same 3 drivers in that car, and through a process of all sorts of elimination, that's what we've ended up with, and we're delighted to see them back. And what we really want to see now is what they've promised for the last couple of years, is to get from that 2nd spot on the podium to the top step, and they came so close last year.
I'm looking back at the qualifying times, or more specifically the positions from our last visit to Barcelona for the ELMS and GTs. Well, it was a Ferrari wipeout, the top 4 positions in GT going the way of the prancing horse, with the 60 car, which has now actually changed team association since then. 60 very much an Iron Lynx machine, but looks potentially good for the 488 GTE Evo. There has been a track refinement though, adjustment at this corner, which is turn 10. That's now much more open and therefore less of a hard stop as you reach it after a significantly long straight, not as long as the main straight, but 9 to 10 is a good run.
Yeah, testing, the pre-season test, and we had a vast amount of track time for that. Miguel Molina in the Iron Lynx car led the first 2 sessions, but fastest overall in that session, in those test sessions, was Jimmy Bruni in the number 77 car.
Okay.
So there is pace in the Porsche here. They've not changed the specification of that Porsche for no good reason. There are performance advantages inherent in that car. As for the Aston Martin, what a delight to see that car back. Ross Gunn will bring the best out of it for sure, with a shadow of a doubt. But that effort is all about Hancock and particularly John Hartshorn and their preparation for the Le Mans 24 Hours, where John, a man who's been involved in sports car racing on the national UK front and internationally for as long as I've been writing, and that's a long time. And it will be, by the way, John Hartshorn's 3rd appearance at Le Mans in different British makes. Has raced at Le Mans in his TVR, in the Lotus Evora GTE, and now it will be the Aston Martin. That car already nailed in the 95 for a Le Mans place.
So John continuing to build on the CV. As Graham is alongside me as well, the job that's never done. The other thing we should mention is tyres, because pretty much every car just came in and switched to a new set of Goodyears. Now, I don't think there's been any change in the regulations over the winter. You can have as many tyres as you wish in GTE AM. It's down to the amount of your bank balance rather than any restriction that we have elsewhere in the race for LMP3 and LMP2, and amount of tyres dished out by the relevant tyre manufacturers is carefully governed in the prototype divisions. The 80 car is still fastest, with Spaniard at his home race Miguel Molina having set the 142.041. We've got Jimmy Bruni second, probably first races for Bruni in the ELMS.
No, he did one race, didn't he? Last season, I guess was it last season, the year before at Imola, I seem to remember.
Sitting in for somebody who maybe couldn't do the race. Okay.
And then before that, a couple of years with JMW. Never done, I don't think, a full season, because he missed a race in JMW's title-winning season.
Yes.
He was on duty elsewhere, but has never done a full season, so this might well be his first season. One quick thing to say here, we have had 5 cars complete a flying lap, and there's a mark of what we've got to expect this season, all of them in the 142s.
Very, very consistent, and get used to that, because these pro drivers, either the silver or the platinums, gold or platinums, which you are permitted to have one of, the gold or the platinum in your 3-driver combination, generally thrown out for qualifying because they're the quickest driver. They're the ones that are able to assess the conditions and get the times punched out at the earliest possibility, and therefore the differences between those gold and platinum factory drivers generally is so small. So that's the reason why we've got this kind of low 142 benchmark which has been set. And if they're not quite close to that, like Jody Fanning and Ross Gunn, just give them a few more laps and it'll be right there for the JMW Motorsport Ferrari and the TF Sport Aston Martin. But the time disappears very quickly in these swift sessions. 10 minutes on the clock, but it takes you best part of 2 minutes to be released from the pit lane and around to start a flying lap. So the time will disappear through your fingers very quickly indeed. And Miguel Molina is best placed here with this 0.2 of a second advantage over Jean-Marie Bruni and Rahel Fry just a tenth further back.
Now, just who's got this right, who will get 1 and who will get 2 laps before the checkered flag comes out here. We're under 1 minute to go to the end of this session, and that does not look to me like Miguel Molina is quite on it yet. He's going to push here, isn't he? He's outside his delta. He's looking to get the best launch he possibly can to start one more flying lap with 30 seconds on the clock. He's not.
Well, he's going to
pitting. I thought he was pitting.
Yeah, I thought he was pitting as well, thinking that the pit lane was just before turn 14. In fact, it's not. You negotiate the chicane first of all, and it was almost as if he was deliberately reining things back there to build a bit of, well, drop the tyre temperature and then push again almost for a second heat wave. and heat cycle rather. So over the line that he will go, and with just less than 10 seconds to go, it'll be this lap to potentially extend the gap. He doesn't need to do it by a lot, but it really depends on what this man Jean-Marie Bruni is capable of in the Proton competition Porsche. Rahel Fry, who did improve on the last lap around in the Iron Lynx 83, still sitting there in third.
So this is Bruni's only shot at this. He was purple in the first sector, made an improvement in the second sector, needed to find 2/10 and a bit of change. And Bruni goes to the top. It's a 141.892. 0.149 of a second to the good. Miguel Molina has not improved on his first sector. Could that be the pole lap right there? Rahel Fry going pretty quickly. She's a 10th off Bruni's first sector time, but only a 10th. Well, the rest of this field, Richard Leeds has completed his final run. He will start no better than 4th. The bottom two nailed in. Matt Griffin and Paolo Roberti will start 7th and 8th. Jody Fannin will start 6th because he's in the pits.
Yes.
What can Ross Gunn do? He's got a blue sector to his name. Molina is not going to improve here.
He needs to have shown more improvement to this point. He's in the final sector now and just heading out of turn 12, so there's the intricate 13 and then the chicane at 14 and 15 still for the Spaniard to do. Should know this place very well, but has he just run short of a bit of pace when he desperately needed it in the Iron Lynx Ferrari? Jimmy Bruni at the moment is in provisional pole position.
But watch Rahel Fry, because she's close to getting a front row start out of this. Could it be better than that? I don't think it. Well, maybe. It's close, you know.
Very close, and not quite, but she does improve to a 142.266, and Molina's time now confirmed and will not get any better than a 142.041. So 42.0 for Molina, 42.2 for Fry, Richard Leitz a 42.5, and Ross Gunn a 142.7. But it's Jean-Marie Bruni in the WeatherTech liveried Proton competition Porsche who will be the first pole sitter of the year in GTE in the ELMS, and the car has not made the pit lane.
It's missed the pit lane. 77 has missed pit in.
Well.
Oh, that might cost a handful of euros.
I don't think it's going to be anything worse than that, though. Now, he's probably receiving instruction from the team here as to what to do
but
next.
He can't reverse on the track.
Can't reverse on the track.
Nor can
you receive the checkered flag twice.
Nope.
So he's really in two minds here. The only other option is to drive across the curbs, across the grass, and go into pit lane that way. But is the safer thing to do to make sure that everybody's in pit lane and then do that under the instruction of the team? Yeah. Or do you claim that the car is out of fuel because you were running it that close to get the pole, and I'll need a recovery, please, because that will also should mean that he avoids any kind of wrath from the race control
unit. Well, he's done
unit.
the sensible thing. Everybody had finished.
Everybody's in the pit lane now, aren't they? Apart from his car.
The one thing this will do is delay the start of the next session.
Yeah. Well, there's automatically, I think, a 5-minute down period, possibly on some schedules 10 minutes. So there's a little bit of flexibility before we get going again with 10 minutes of LMP3 qualifying. I think Jimmy's doing the right thing here. He doesn't want to present a knee-jerk reaction and just jump across the curbs and hope that nobody's watching. The problem is that the cameras around the track have found that very striking-looking WeatherTech livery. Yep. It's easy. It's very easy to spot indeed. Aston Martin has come in, so maybe he was waiting. There's a few stragglers actually from the session that need to come into pit lane, Graham.
Just looking for the graphic we've got that also indicates the 55 car has stopped somewhere on track.
Okay.
And we've not got a graphic that says whether or not the cars are in the pits, but
you're right though. There's the word stop on the right hand side, and now joined
lane,
by the 95 as well. The 95 is definitely down pit road,
and the 55 was just behind Jimmy Bruni.
And
did he make the same mistake? Are we going to see the 55 going
in?
Is the 55? The 55 is in the pits. Okay.
Yeah. So the only car out on track is the 77. That will require recovery, but at the moment still hangs on to its pole position. Jean-Marie Bruni set it. Let's get reaction from Proton competition with Hayley Edmonds.
That's right, I'm down here in the garage with Jackson Evans, driver of number 77 Proton competition. Now, firstly, could you just tell us what's actually happened out there with Jimmy? Has he missed the pit lane?
Yeah, to be honest, not 100% sure what's happened with Jimmy out there. So I think he's in communication with the team, but it seems that there may be a small issue. But nonetheless, he did a fantastic job.
Absolutely. So first on the LMS, a great start to the season, of course, because you've got the pole with Jimmy. Just tell us about, what your expectations are coming into this season.
Yeah, it's been a fantastic start. Obviously, my first round of ELMS, and it's great to be joining Proton competition, reigning GTE champions. So, I'm learning as much as I can and enjoying it. So, hopefully, we can have a good race on Sunday.
Great to have you here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, not his first venture into Europe, having spent a lot of his time in Germany racing in the VLN Championship, in Porsche Carrera Cups in Germany as well, and two seasons in the Super Cup that supports the F1 Grand Prix. So experienced in one part of European racing, but not so much, barring Le Mans, in ACO rules racing. So brilliant to have Jackson here.
Yeah, it's an interesting moment for drivers in this Porsche family. There was a bit of a clear out of people with official driver tags at Porsche, including some very big names. Jackson was one of them, but very clearly still in a seat that Porsche would have had a nod towards, let's put it that way.
Yes.
I suspect his career with Porsche is not done. It's going to be at LMP3 next, Johnny. And I'll
just give you the times actually before we've moved on from GTE fully. So Proton competition, getting the pole as we know, despite the car stopping on track, 141.892. The 80 car for Iron Link's second fastest by only a tenth and a half. Then Rahel Fry's effort, which was in the 83 Iron Link's Ferrari, 0.2 of a second away from the Jimmy Bruni time. The other Proton competition, Porsche number 93, finished fourth ahead of the TF Sport Aston Martin. Very Aston type race number that, 95, but not the Dane train from the factory team adopted by Tom Ferrier's outfit for 2021. And the JMW Motorsport 66 Ferrari will start from 6th position.
Just noticed there, no time for the number 60 car.
When that was doing okay, wasn't it, in the session?
So just lost times to track limits.
Because of track limits, yeah, quite possibly, because Paolo Roberti in the early stages was actually setting the pace. But a number of areas around this Barcelona circuit where you can breach track limits, out of turn 9 and out of turn 15 as well, and they're all being closely observed. You must keep at least 2 wheels the right side of the white line, particularly on the exit of fast or crucial corners.
So LMP3 next up, and it is 16 cars for this LMP3 grid for the season. And returning the title-winning United Autosports squad. This is a previous title-winning squad, the Euro International car, and this lovely royal blue livery on the number 11 car. And you're going to have to get used to it again. A lot of new names in teams. We've, I think, 3 graduating from the Michelin Le Mans Cup, 1 team coming in from elsewhere, and a whole lot of new teams, new colours, new cars, right through this grid. Number 19 there, that is the new look for Cool Racing.
Yes, now that's very different, isn't it? Because I'm used to the sky blue that is normally sported by Cool Racing.
Much closer to their previous LMP2 livery.
Yes.
But actually very handsome indeed on the LMP3. This is number 12. This is one of our new additions to the LMS grid, but if you follow the Michelin Le Mans Cup, you'll remember the Racing Experience team from Luxembourg. It's the Luxembourg wave that's coming at us.
Absolutely, no, it's very evident indeed. And the colour scheme there reminds me of an early Rebellion.
It does,
actually.
rather.
The red and the gold.
The Hauser owned family team, in fact both the Hauser brothers in the car together for the first time.
And what they've tended to do is alternate in the Michelin Le Mans Cup. Gary one race, David the next, and the fact that they've now moved up to ELMS means that they both get to drive for each race, so exciting times there.
New look for DK Engineering. This is the all-black car. Lawrence Hurt will need no introduction again to people who've been following the ELMS and Michelin Le Mans Cup for some years. Alain Berg, another Luxembourger, with, by the way, another Luxembourg team.
Yes.
Not Alain Berg, the F1 driver from some years ago from Canada, Alain Berg from Luxembourg.
All very clear. Now, are we expecting that car to be in the DKR orange later on? Was that fairly...
I've not caught up with Canada, so I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
all carbon black at the moment, which suggests it's been fairly late to organise that car and where it needs to be.
I think that's a brand new car.
Looks like it.
So the third car the team has, the car that raced in Asia this year, is with the team in the awning as well. This is another one of our graduates, MV2S Racing.
30 seconds to open pit lane. Under 30 seconds to open pit lane.
And that's one to watch, by the way. Got a couple of very good drivers indeed in that car.
Well, Fabien Laverne strikes as someone who's very quick in Ferraris at GT level, former ELMS champion, I think.
Former Michelin Le Mans Cup champion, was he?
Yes. No, you're right.
As
and
a
then stepped up
bronze
to
with
ELMS.
Lucic Racing.
Yes.
And now silver.
8, 7.
Here's the countdown from Eduardo
6,
Freitas, our
5,
race director, as always.
4, 3, 2, 1. Pit exit is open for the European Le Mans Series LMP3 class. Please remind drivers to respect track limits.
Good lingering look there at the 1-aim Villorba squad, the Italian team. And they, again, two very quick drivers. The rather lighter blue, sea blue I think we'll call it, from the Greek National Tourist Board that backs Andreas Laskanatos driver aboard that car. Greece is the word.
So known for this season as the 1-aim Villorba Corsa outfit. And it'll be Alessandro Bressan who does the qualifying over the next 10 minutes. United not joining the party just yet, but this isn't a problem necessarily. It tends to be the way that they do things, just to allow the bulk of the field to join the racetrack. And now, as they head down towards turn 1, there's a nice quiet racetrack in front of them. Well, that's the theory at least.
It's the first full season effort for Villorba Corsa in LMP3 for some time. There were early adopters in LMP3 with Schmetter in the first season. It carried on into the following season with Alicia, but then ducked out, went back into GT racing amongst other things. Looked after for a while, of course, the Cetelar Racing LMP2 squad before I, of course, took on the technical support role for that. Another car to watch, by the way, there, the number 15 car, and another of our previous title winners, the 15 car from RRM Sport from the northwest of England.
That was the year Job van Uitert was champion, wasn't it? And,
whatever happened to him?
I know. I was about to say, look what he's gone on to do, but Graham knows him well, so pulling his leg a little bit there. Mightily impressive young Dutchman who still continues to turn heads in and around the paddock. Got a nice little deal settled for 2021, we're delighted to say.
Indeed. This car now in the hands of another emerging talent, and that is Malte Jacobsen, young Dane. We saw what he could do last year, and I think he's grown about half a metre since last. That's what you get with these teenagers. So they'd have been very distressed when he turned up for his seat fitting and it didn't fit. But
they shoot up these days.
All they do.
Take a couple of months away and they've turned into a completely different person. But the man from Viborg, 17, Malte Jacobsen, a former Danish F4 champion, and was one of the drivers of the season for me in the whole of the ELMS entry, not just LMP3.
He had a couple of runs in the Road to Le Mans where he was making up ground after some lowly qualifying positions and was getting up towards the podium positions. Exciting stuff. He is an exciting talent absolutely for sure, and he's supported here by two names which, again, if you're followers of this sort of racing, Lex Capardia back with the team, another race-winning man from ELMS, and Mikey Benham steps into the LMS.
Yeah, that's really good as well to see, when we wondered maybe whether Mikey had called time on endurance racing full stop, but not a bit of that, because he's back on double duty now for the rest of the season. So a busy day for Mikey Benham. The Michelin Le Mans Cup race still to come at 4:30 this afternoon, as Malte Jacobsen heads to the tricky approach to turn 14 and 15. There's some deliberately placed yellow sausage curbs there, ready to damage a car if you catch them at the wrong angle. So you do have to be very cautious there, but don't lose any time. Very tricky to do both of those things at the same time.
He is first man to score a flying lap, and it goes to Malte Jacobsen. 1:39.418. Garrett Griss pops in 4/10 off that. Then Fabien Laverne pulling no ball. So the gap between those four, just a smidge under a second. Going a lot quicker at the moment out there. Some way back on track is the reigning champion, Wayne Boyd.
Very easy to spot the team Virage entry with Garrett Griss, the young Canadian, at the wheel of the number 20 car with that yellow and orange stripe effect, sharing the car with Rob Hodes and CR Cruz once again.
Yep.
Richard Dean, who's of course the co-owner and boss of United Autosports, together with a certain Zach Brown. Phil Hansen just over his shoulder, I notice. and often Phil put in for qualifying duties in LMP2. He's now a gold-rated driver, remember, after a title-winning season last year. More on him. And I'm interested to see who will get the qualifying duties once we get to the big prototype.
He leads that car now. That's the job. He's newly reclassified as a gold driver. His job here at the LMS is to lead that car with 2 new teammates. We're aboard now, the number 2 car.
Well, the one surprise, or rather not a surprise for me, is the fact that Wayne Boyd's been put in for qualifying duty in the 2, because he was the qualification specialist last year. I think got all but one pole time in the whole of the 5 races we had in 2020, and just one tweak there as Tom Gamble steps out of P3 and into the LMP2 car, and in his place comes Edward Cohope, who impressed a lot of people at Michelin Le Mans Cup level last year.
With Cool Racing. So there's all sorts of twists and turns in these stories. Malte Jakobsen goes through again, pips Boyd by 41 thousandths of a second. New name, by the way, up at the top there in the 13 car, late addition to the Europol squad, Hugo de Wilde, Belgian single-seater racer, tested immediately after the season at Portimao with United, but has rocked up at Inter Europol with a new look squad. This is the new look to the Team Virage effort. Same livery you'll see on the 2 cars they've got in the Michelin Le Mans Cup. But that's symptomatic of the changes we've seen. We've got the same crew with Garrett Grist, Charlie Cruz and Rob Hodes, but a completely different team.
Yes.
And there's a very healthy marketplace in P3 at the moment.
Now, the team Polish flagged at Virage, actually based in Valencia though, so this is their home race sort of when you consider where the team is based. Used to run with a Spanish flag, I think, Team Virage, but things have changed there over the winter period as the Inter Europol competition number 13 car. Now, this is the one that did have drivers confirmed about a week ago. Same couldn't be said though for the 14. There's been a lot of late changes for another Polish outfit as the 13 car comes out of the final corner with Hugo de Wilde, as you say, the Belgian at the wheel. 18 years old, another teenager to welcome to the field. 4th position so far for de Wilde, behind Laurence Hoare, last year's MLMC champion. Wayne Boyd doesn't go top because his teammate Duncan Tappy does in the number 3 for United.
It's 21 thousandths of a second now, so 62 thousandths of a second separate the top 3 now. It's Duncan Tappy, 139.162, Malte Jakobsen, 139.183, and then Wayne Boyd, a 139.224, and Haley Edmonds is going to have to get the opportunity to say, where did you lose those 21 thousandths?
Well, if it stays like this, and I bet she's second-guessing herself as to which garage to stand outside of right now, because there are certainly 2 teams in it, quite possibly 3 if you include DKR Engineering, and Inter Europol competition would wager that they can get somewhere close to the front row as well. So United Autosports and Duncan Tappy hold on to provisional pole at the moment, a 139.162 set by the Brit. Malte Jakobsen second, but only 21 thousandths of a second, as Graham says, in the R&RM Sport Ligier. Another Ligier third, Wayne Boyd, also for United Autosports, and the best of the Duquesnes, only 2 in the entry, remember, but a lot more in Michelin Le Mans Cup, but only 2 in ELMS. That's Laurence Hoare off the back of a title-winning campaign in the Michelin Le Mans Cup last year, staying with DKR Engineering, and that car is 4th fastest.
Duncan Tappy on track to just edge away a little bit more, 40 thousandths quicker than his previous time after Sector 2. The whole field, by the way, Johnny, at the moment separated by under 1.5 seconds. The top 5 separated by under a quarter of a second. This is very close stuff with 2 minutes to go.
Very intense indeed. You can't take your eyes off it. And remember, this is just part 1 of the weekend. When we head to the race, these cars will need to be stopping 3 times, twice for a mandatory stop, which is dictated by a minimum pit stop time, and then the third pit stop is entirely as quick as you like. But it depends where you choose to do that in the race. You could do your quick one first, and that would bring you out front and maybe out of trouble. There's a lot of strategy to be weaved into these races, particularly at LMP3 level. I's to be dotted, T's to be crossed, but some strategy. There's room for strategy at the same time.
Great camera angles in the cars, drifting through that turn, just to show just exactly what mechanical and aerodynamic grip these cars are actually deploying here. Fabien Laverne there failed to complete a lap that looked like it might vault him up in maybe into the top 4 or 5, but at a poor 3rd sector, likely traffic there causing him a problem. But still improved times coming through. Top of the field, are they all just biding their time for a final crack at this? United Autosports from RLRM Sports, they're bitter rivals. in LMP3 racing over the last 2 or 3 seasons. Then the second of the United cars, Lawrence Hur, will not be happy with just 4th. He's under 2 tenths back, and then just over 2 tenths, Ugo de Wilde in the number 13 car. The 13 car that has finished second in the championship for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Ugo de Wilde, part of their attack this year, they are just over 2 tenths back, but de Wilde lost the lap he's on right now.
It's easy to overlook the amount of success that Martin Hipper actually had with the Inter-Europol competition campaign last year. He was 4th in the championship, behind the 3 winners, Tom Gamble, Rob Weld and Wayne Boyd, and then he was the next best point scorer. So consistent. Just had a very good team up against him, and there was a few driver changes at the Polish squad through the course of the year as well. So checkered flags out.
Yeah.
Nobody's actually seen it yet. The first car that will is Malte Jakobsen. This is his one and only opportunity to improve. He'll cross the line now, and he doesn't.
No.
In fact, he pits, so he knew he wasn't onto anything special there. And a number of other cars crossed the line, including Garrett Gris for Virage, and for MV2S, Fabien Leverne sees the flag, but he'll stay 10th.
So all the improvements really came in that first burst of activity.
Yeah.
A couple of cracks at it for the really top guys in this order, and the really top ones improved twice. It's going to be Duncan Tappy by the look of things that is going to come out here as the pole sitter. Haley Evans will be on her way, I'm sure, to the United garage.
And that's something Duncan was trying to do for the whole of last year, but he found that he was up against Wayne Boyd and his qualification brilliance. But Duncan Tappy, I think he was suggesting to me towards the end of last year that he would take himself away for the winter, give himself a strict talking to, and say, we really do need to get one of these poles sorted by now, and that's exactly what he's managed to do. The team has stayed the same, hasn't it? Jim Maguire, Andrew Bentley. Jim wasn't able to get across the Atlantic on a couple of occasions last year, so Andrew and Duncan ran as a twosome, but it looks like that's a very stable lineup, and I think organised quite early on that deal. Great way to come into a new potential title run, knowing who you're racing with and that your seat is confirmed.
Yeah, so Duncan Tappy will be utterly delighted with that. He's been used to race success on LMP3 in his days with Lannan Racing, with Mikey Benham. We talked about Mikey a little earlier, but this will be a whole different kettle of fish. He's going to be very pleased indeed. You can see the smile despite the mask. The smile was clearly there with Jim McGuire. We get a chance to see. There you go. There's Jim, smiling eyes. So they've got something to bring to this party without a shadow of a doubt. And again, as we saw in GT, look at the gaps. Thousands between the top 3. Thousands.
Well, a second covers the top 10, and as you made the point earlier on, a second and a half all of the field.
Yeah, and I'm sure I'm sure some of the guys at the bottom end of that field will be telling us they had a minor problem. In that session.
I know, and have the potential to go quicker.
So it does promise again to be, particularly because we've got all the more cars, and there doesn't seem to be an uncompetitive car out there.
And even though there are only 2 Duquesnes, you've got one of them on the second row. The other one, struggled in the hands of David Hauser, but as Graham makes the point, there might have been a niggly issue there at Racing Experience that they can iron out between now and the race tomorrow at 11. Let's hear then from the camp that take pole position, United Autosports, now with Haley.
I'm joined here by Andrew Bentley, driver of car number 3, United Autosports. What a fantastic start by Duncan Tappy here, getting pole position. But what is it, 21,000th of a second separated you from the second place. I mean, it just goes to show how competitive the field is out there.
Yeah, sure. ELMS this year is going to be really competitive. It's such strength in the field, but yeah, Duncan's just absolutely flew there. Did an absolutely stonking lap. Actually, all 3 of his laps were right up there in the top 3. So yeah, to get the aero car, United Autosport aero car on their P1, you're fantastic. So can't wait for tomorrow.
And a great start for your campaign, 21-21 campaigns. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, as I say, missed out on a pole last year when Wayne Boyd secured 4 of the 5, and the other one went to David Drew, who was sharing the car with Esteban Garcia, and they went on to take victory. United Autosports, pole position, the first one of the year, going to the number 3 car. Congratulations to Duncan Tapia, 139.162. It was Malte Jakobsen and the RLR M Sport car who ran it so close. 21,000th of a second, have to make do with a front row start in P3. Wayne Boyd, the Ulsterman, third in the number 2 car, a 139.224 ahead of Laurence Heu, German driver for DKR Engineering. Into Europole competition, and Hugo de Wilde, the young Belgian talent, doing a 139.385. David Drew, the aforementioned, for Graf this year in car number 8, sets a 139.691 for 6th place. Ahead of Team Virage and Garrett Grist, Alessandro Bressan for One Aim Viorba Corsa, and the 18 car Cool Racing, and Matt Bell in the number 19 car was 9th, ahead of the MV2S racing machine of Fabien Leverne, who did win the ELMS, by the way, at GT level in 2019, and the number 5 car in 10th position.
I think I'm right. There are only 2 cars there, 2 gaps there that were over 0.2 of a second, and I think almost half were under a tenth.
Yeah.
And several of them were under 200ths.
Yes.
There were about 5 or 6 gaps there that had 0.01 something. That was a very close session all the way down through the field. Everybody has got someone to fight with.
And I don't think that session's going to be unique this year. I think that's the staple that we should get used to, in fact. It's always intense, and I was delighted to see the Michelin Le Mans Cup was just as close as well earlier on. If you missed that, please find a way of rewatching it, and make sure you're glued to the Michelin Le Mans Cup for the rest of the season as well. We've got 2 cracking championships sharing the bill, and the Ligier Endurance Series, which is now just into its 2nd year, and able support, I think, this season too.
And will get better as the travel restrictions come off and people are coming out of lockdown, including some of the teams who don't have the budgets at this kind of level. Johnny, we've had the hors d'oeuvre in GT, we've had the salad course with LMP3, now time for a big juicy slice of steak.
That's funnily enough what you had for lunch as well, so steak's on the brain, I think. 16 LMP2 machines, with the added interest of a separate category within this as well, because don't forget that we have full-on pro lineups and the Pro-Am Championship, which is scoring individual points, although you score points in the main LMP2 Championship together with Pro-Am if you are entered into the latter. We'll deal with the intricacies of that as we go, but essentially if you put a bronze driver in your trio or your duo, that enables you to be entered into Pro-Am.
But I think I'm right, 1 championship point only. I don't think there's a championship point for Pro-Am pole. I think that's probably
yes,
correct.
for the pole, yes, but for the championship in the race tomorrow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. First up, and again another one full of new, and rolling into the middle of the shop there was the 34 car, LMP2 Pro-Am. The 24 car, this is the Algarve Pro car, Johnny. What a tale that this team has had getting here. Absolutely astonishingly poor luck. Missed the test. It involves...
Now, hang on a minute, because this team is based in Portugal. So somebody would say Portugal to Spain, pretty easy journey.
Yeah, easy. 3 cars in the Asia Le Mans series, 2 containers, one put on one ship, one put on another ship for some unknown reason. First car, that was a 26 car because they're running 2 G-Drive cars here, no problem at all. The other 2, they were late and they got later, thanks to someone turning hard left in the Suez Canal. That cost them a week. A failure by the shippers to pick up an email cost them more time because they couldn't get the car off in Greece. That car then went via Malta to Marseille, and then happy little bit of luck where the customs authorities... Before I talk about that, let's talk quickly about the 84 car. This is the SRT 41 effort. In the background you can see the wheelchair of Fred Saussay.
Yes.
This is Frederic Saussay's Academy. We'll talk about that car, I know, through the weekend. Delighted to see them here. To complete the APR story, car was off the ship, I think, last Friday in Marseille. Customs authorities agreed that they would ship it bonded, sealed, to Barcelona airport to be cleared. Within a kilometre of the track, as it passed through to go to Barcelona airport, there was a serious road accident, and the truck carrying the car, the container, with another truck and other things, and the central reservation, just then
Well, they say these things come in threes.
It was impounded.
Almost up to 5 and 6s by this stage.
There's further chapters to this story.
Indeed.
To say that car is transformed from what came off that truck would be an understatement. The car looks absolutely stunning and is aiming, by the way, and we'll get again one of these stories we can talk about through the season, carbon neutral racing. And already 10 acres of Ecuadorian rainforest preserved as a result of this effort.
So G-Drive no longer run by TDS,
Nope.
They are run by APR, Algarve Pro Racing, and you're looking for the 24 car, which is not in G-Drive livery, the 25 and the 26, which very definitely are. Dragon Speed USA back on the ELMS grid with their instantly recognisable stars and stripe livery on the top of the white gloss, and the 21 car, Henrik Hedman's team-ish, well, it's Elton Julian's team, but Henrik Hedman has become the kind of main star in that. Ben Hanley joining in again, and the addition
is Ricky Taylor
of American talent, Ricky
absolutely.
Taylor.
And the idea for Dragon Speed this year is we will see a guest star in every race. Where? I've agreed with Elton not to say, all right, who the next two are.
Oh, but that's going to be a rotating affair.
It is a
round
rotating star in the car. And I can
Fabulous.
tell you they are both very worthy additions to that team, and a couple of big star names. So it's going to be great to see that, and something to talk about through the season. Ricky Taylor having an absolute ball here, absolutely loving it.
Well, I'm guessing he probably never raced here in Barcelona before, but we'd need to check that with him. But there's
he has raced LMP2s in Europe because he's raced for
Labour competition, yes, true.
At Le Mans,
now, did they visit Barcelona during that season? We'll have to look that up once we're done today, and news on that to follow.
Away they go.
The Panis racing car, recognised by the golden arches on the nose of that machine. Now that is out of the Tech 1 garage as far as I can read, and alongside the Ultimate entry, they're sharing a garage. I haven't quite worked out the connection between those two.
I think it's a technical partnership for them, again part of the new, and lots of it.
Yes.
So this is Racing Team Turkey, the number 34 car, and that car is out there in the hands of Harry Tinknell, the Mazda factory driver from IMSA, and of course a previous ELMS champion in the days when the cars didn't have roofs, back when round here was just fields.
You squint a bit and it almost looks a bit like a Mazda DPI,
it does a
paint scheme on the Team Turkey machine.
Very handsome. I think that's the ultimate car behind the 29 car. That's the very different shades of red. It doesn't quite look at it from this angle, but it's a kind of rich red, the one we've recognised from the Aston Martin winning car GTM at Le Mans last year. New look as well for BHK Motorsport. They've put time in to this effort, looking very kind of Alpine, but none the worse for that, and some familiar faces as well in that garage, with Mark Owen from 360 Racing and his crew involved in it. Still we wait for the 21 Dragon Speed car, which, by the way, up until this point holds a record in the European Le Mans Series, as being the only team, and Henrik Hedman the only man who has ever won an ELMS race overall as a bronze rank driver.
22 starting to warm things up as the qualification duty is indeed given to Phil Hansen as predicted by Graham Goodwin. So all down to Phil, who was the silver in this lineup, remember, after a title winning campaign in 2020 with Philippe Albuquerque, who's no longer part of the lineup in number 22. Phil moving to gold, and therefore, by the looks of things, being given the duty of qualifying. And the 22 car is out on the racetrack as almost the leading car. 32 is ahead of it actually, and just exiting from turns 7 and 8. And then a little bit further back from the 22 is the Team Turkey machine, Racing Team Turkey, with Harry Tinknell at the wheel. So car 34 no longer associated with Inter-Europol competition, and I wanted to drill that into my brain because it's kind of automatically there from all of last season. The two G-Drive entered machines from Algarve Pro Racing also yet to join the session. So we haven't seen the 17 E-Deck Sport car yet, nor Dragon Speed, and the 3 Algarve Pro Racing prepared cars, 2 from G-Drive and 1 APR proper for Diego Manchaca, possibly about to join the session any moment.
Interesting switch between the LMP2 Pro-Am teams. A couple of the teams running with their full pro drivers, Harry Tinknell and Nico Lapierre amongst them in the Cool Racing car, but others opting to go with their AM drivers to give them the extra time aboard the car they'll require to just unlock things. At the moment, Team WRT, absolute super team in GT Racing, GT3 Racing. Harry Tinknell Tittle first out the pits and first to the top of the screens, by the way, with Mathieu Lehay just behind. It's 1:33.367, by the way, for Harry. 3/4 second to the good. But all sorts of storylines here. Still waiting. Here's the 25 car.
Will Stevens goes top briefly. Louis Delatraz now for WRT slots into the top spot, but with 6 minutes still to go, it is bound to change several times yet. 1:32.933 for the young Swiss. Will Stevens for Panis Racing, number 65, second. Then Harry Tinknell, who we've spoken about, who's out in the Racing Team Turkey machine. That's a TF Sport prepared LMP2 car. Nicolas Lapierre for Cool Racing, another Pro-Am machine. Let's not forget that Harry Tinknell is entered into Pro-Am because of Sally Jodic's bronze status. So the fastest Pro-Am entered car so far is that 34 from the 37 of Nicolas Lapierre.
So Louis Delatraz, another new name for the European Le Mans Series, but raced, of course, at Le Mans with Rebellion Racing, 4th overall for young Louis Delatraz. He's with the WRT team. Double effort for them, first full season in LMP racing for WRT from Belgium, Vincent Vos and his crew. They're doing double duty here with their LMP2 efforts, and at Monza with the GT World Challenge start of the season as well.
All change at the top though, Graham, as United Autosports first and second. Job van Outert in the 32 and Phil Hansen in the 22. They lock out the top position, the front row rather, in one fell swoop. 0.165 of a second between the two of them, but crucially 0.355 behind. So that's what, best part of two tenths of a second from Hansen back to Delatraz as a bit of a cushion. Now I still think Louis Delatraz will have a bit more to give in the Team WRT car now into the pits, and Will Stevens does likewise. So this is the natural pause in the session where cars take on fresh rubber.
New tyres going on to the number 41 car. Delatraz, exciting talent. Lots more to see from this. On board with Paul Chatin. No, apologies. This is Dwight Merriman in the 17. If you are watching the live stream, you can also watch a dedicated channel on YouTube with the 17 full race in car.
Very good.
Driver's point of view.
And Dwight Merriman and Kyle Tilley will be well known to fans of US endurance racing from the IMSA Championship. This car carries the ERA Motorsport badge on the nose as well, although it's very definitely an EDEX Sport entry. In the blue colours, similar to what it carried for Le Mans last year, had a blue car and a red car, and they have returned for a full season of ELMS racing. Now Ryan DL's just popped up, I noticed, alongside a 17, so do you think Ryan doing qualifying rather than Dwight?
I think Dwight went out, I think Ryan's just got in.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
I think that's what's happened, because Dwight was definitely on the car as it emerged, unless there was a driver identification issue, but I think Ryan's just got into that car.
So Glaswegian originally, Ryan DL, and he spent a lot of his racing career the other side of the Atlantic, and again someone who raced in the UK and then very quickly got himself a deal stateside. So I think experience at big European tracks relatively limited. That won't be a problem for Ryan DL. He'll learn this place and how to go quickly within the matter of a few laps.
To the top, Ben Hanley for Dragon Speed, the 21 car, 0.176 second to the good with a 1:32.402 for 21 car. That is our fourth different pole setter of this very short session so far, with under 3 minutes to go. Frantic activity for a number of teams getting new rubber on those cars.
The nose of the Ultimate car doesn't quite match the rest of the paint scheme on that. It's the metallic cherry red that always used to be carried on the Ultimate car. I don't know whether that's by accident or design, actually.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
But it's not got the gloss that the rest of the car has. So maybe an indication that it's had a new nose fitted. Anyway, brilliant to have the Lehay family back in the ELMS paddock. They didn't feature at all in 2020, but Mathieu and Jean-Baptiste Lehay joined again by François Heriot and moving up to LMP2. Very exciting times there.
Well, if my awful schoolboy French doesn't desert me, I'm pretty certain I read friends and colleagues' websites on Endurance Info, French website, that Francois will be joining the SRT 41 team to complete their squad at Le Mans and Garage 56.
Okay, all right, that's a very interesting story, maybe just emerging this weekend. François Heriot, and yes, the innovative car, as it's called, from Association SRT 41, will be one to look out for. They're doing the opening 2 rounds of the ELMS and at the 24 Hours of Le Mans.
So Ben Hanley bailed out of that lap pretty late on. He holds just over 0.2 of a second, but just on an outlap now. Both Joop van Uitert and Phil Hansen, they will get round to get one more flying crack at this one. Louis Delatraz, though, is on a flyer right now from the 41 car and is clearly pushing hard.
Yes.
Dust being thrown up there as he just uses all the curb. He's got traffic ahead. I don't think that's going to bother him unless that car's completely off the pace, and it isn't. So this is going to be an interesting moment for the young man early on in his sports car racing career.
Amazing pace though, heading towards turn 9. There's obviously a little bit of moisture in the air here at Barcelona, because you could see that as it was coming off the back of the aero of the car. Phenomenal downforce, and there's a little bit of smoke issuing as well when he's really late on the brakes, Louis Delatraz. This is how hard he's having to push to get ahead of the 2 United Autosports cars and the time already set by Ben Hanley, and does it. Team WRT to the top with still 30 seconds left on the clock. It's a 1:31.867 for a team brand new to the ELMS, but you wouldn't know it.
Absolutely. And to the top again, Nick de Vries goes from nowhere. Nick de Vries by 79 thousandths of a second. Hadn't even mentioned his name. And there he goes.
Likes it.
Absolutely fantastic. Before I forget though, great stuff there from Ferdinand Habsburg. He's not in the fight for pole position. Clearly had got the message that the pole run was coming, got out of the way to driver's right before the chicane and did not play a part in that. Could have actually ruined that lap, didn't do so, and he continues now on his last run. Well done to Ferdinand Habsburg. What a sportsman he is.
Well, Nick de Vries, I don't think that's an accident to be below the radar. Make sure that nobody really suspects that time is possible on that particular lap for the 26, and then bang. And there's very little time for anyone to reply to that now. It's only 79 thousandths of a second that de Vries has over Louis Delatraz. The rest of the order: Ben Hanley 3rd, Joop van Uitert 4th, Phil Hansen 5th, Paul-Luc Chatin in 6th. Then it's Will Stevens for Panis, Harry Tinknell for Racing Team Turkey, Nicolas Lapierre for Cool, and Ultimates Mathieu Le Hay. By the way, the fastest Pro-Am car so far is the Dragon Speed machine of Ben Hanley, which is now in the pits.
Will Stevens goes 3rd. That's a cracking lap from him. 4/10 off the pole position time. Also watching who else here is in the kind of window. Will Stevens, I think, was closest to it. Paul-Luc Chatin was quick. I don't think he's going to be quick enough.
Down into the chicane comes the 28 to 26 car rather, and the 28 as well rather, and the Edex Sport machine of Paul-Luc Chatin will head out of turn 16 and head over the line. We're still waiting for Nick de Vries, who pits. And Paul-Luc Chatin did cross the line, no improvement though, so his best lap stays at a 1:32.746, which is good enough for 7th position. But Nick de Vries, not only do you have to have the talent to put that time in, but also the timing, which was perfectly positioned as far as the Algarve Pro Racing crew are concerned, and also Nick's ability just to turn things up if he needed to. And the Aurus to the top of the times, the Aurus 01, which beneath the chassis is exactly the same as all the other Oricas, by the way, on the grid. But if you're an Aurus fan for the Russian limousine manufacturer, they are the first name on the sheet when it comes to pole positions for the season.
There you go. What a start in Europe to the career with APR of the G-Drive Racing team. That is Roman Rusinov.
Yeah.
Gold driver, silver hair. And, which marks the level of experience he's now got in sports car racing. They'll be delighted. Shouldn't forget, by the way, they already come into this season having won a title. The G-Drive Racing team, they took the title win in the Asia Le Mans series. The other young talent to come in that trio, by the way, is not here with us today. And there's a reason for that.
Mr. Colapinto, yes.
So Franco Colapinto is doing double duty this year with the European Le Mans series, which is his priority, and the Formula Regional, effectively the Formula Renault. It's a long story, but they're racing at Imola this weekend.
Right.
That's where he is today. He won't be racing race 2 because he'll be back tomorrow. In fact, that is Franco.
He's here already. Maybe he's won that race at Imola and already got home again, or rather to Spain. Home, actually, is Buenos Aires for the Argentinian. only 17 years old, and is here to celebrate with the team. So
we'll be talking a lot about him.
A readjustment to his weekend.
He is blindingly quick. Blindingly quick.
Yeah. Along with a number of other teenagers that occupy the ELMS and Michelin Le Mans Cup paddock this year, who offer incredible pace. And of course the crucial thing for the team is that Franco remains as a silver rated driver, at least for now. Let's get some response from that qualifying session now with Hayley.
I'm joined here by Roman Rusanov, driver of car number 26 for G-Drive Racing. What a cracking start to this 2021 season for you with a pole. Excellently done. Oh, here he is, over here, it's Nick de Vries.
Yeah, I think Nick did an awesome job. Really, really fast, really good. Great job, mate. I think he's a man, so... No, I have to go to scrutiny. Oh. Okay, so...
He's a busy man.
Yeah, he's a busy man, so yeah, no, to be honest, I think the team did a very good job today. Yeah, and pole position is really great to start the season with P1.
And really picking off from where you left off last year in Portimao, a great result there as well. Some great pace. Yeah,
it was very good, but I think Barcelona is really important track for us. It's the beginning of the season, it's very hard to overtake. Yeah, and P1 is really good, plus 1 point for the championship.
Fantastic, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, the points scoring begins now for G-Drive Racing. A confirmation then of the positions in the LMP2 category after qualifying, the first time of qualifying this year. A 1:31.788, more than good enough for pole position, and Nick de Vries, 79 thousandths of a second faster than Belgian crew Team WRT and Louis Delatraz, who set a 1:31.8. Then Panis Racing, third for Will Stevens. The best of the Pro-Am runners is the Dragon Speed USA, entered Orica for Ben Hanley and others. Henrik Hedman joining that crew, or remaining with that crew, I should say, as the bronze-rated driver. That's the reason why he is Pro-Am. 32 and 22. United Autosports briefly topped that session and locked out the front row, but in the end they finished 5th and 6th with Joop van Uitert and Phil Hansen, respectively. Paul-Luc Chatin for EDEX Sport, 7th ahead of Racing Team Turkey's Harry Tinknell. Pietro Fittipaldi for G-Drive Racing, the sister machine to the 26 that took pole position. They will start third within category, and Cool Racing finishing in 10th place for Nicolas Lapierre. So a lot of drivers there with big names and big history in this championship who didn't necessarily produce the business during that 10-minute session. It's so easy for a session to go not quite right, and therefore a lot of hard work needs to be done in the race tomorrow. Make sure you join us for it. 11 o'clock start local with myself, Johnny Palmer, and Graham Goodwin. We will see you tomorrow.